Hey, Nicole, we're going live right now. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
I want to do a shout out to all the embodied leaders out there that are clearing the pathway and walking us through this beautiful new paradigm of conscious, empowered leadership and living for humanity. I want to send a shout out to all the warriors out there doing your thing.
Awesome. Embodied leaders and warriors, here we go. Hey guys, welcome back to A Funny Way of Looking. We've got Nicole Pemberton here today. Nicole is a womb priestess, an alchemical movement slash ritual facilitator, a mentor, writer, speaker, entrepreneur, educator, sacred activist, and much more. But today we are going to focus with Nicole on being a womb priestess. And Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited about this. Like you are our, I think you are our third international guest now. So thank you for that.
Ooh,
You're coming
ooh,
to us from
yes.
Canada. That is
Amazing.
awesome. Yes, yes, yes. I want to dive right into it. I want you to first of all, let's talk about what is a womb priestess. Say that three times fast, and and tell us about womb priestess and what you do.
Yes. Yes. Thank you and welcome. And welcome to everybody that's watching. Thank you so much, Michael, for opening the space for me. Um, Being a womb priestess, it's actually something that came through me. It was through an initiation and through a journey, a movement journey that I went through. That title was gifted to me, and I do my best to honor it. Basically, it is really an honor and appreciation and the study of the womb and the energetics. What I bring is really understanding the energetics that it holds, the systems that are weaving through the womb, and also the emotional intelligence and the creative intelligence and the vitality, the life force vitality that moves through the womb that actually connects to the entire body. So
Okay.
as a womb priestess, there's a clear understanding and study and life experience that has come with this to be able to offer a safe space for womb carriers uh, to really help to ground in and clear, release, rejuvenate, and empower themselves from the center of the body through various resources and various practices that I offer.
So I want to talk about wombs in general because most people, I think about wombs and they say woman immediately, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the womb uh, is something that not just women have. Talk about, I love this word that I certainly just learned, intersectional, and
Mm-hmm.
how that ties into what you do in the womb.
Yeah. I think just in our society where we are right now, we have to be conscious that not everything is strictly masculine and feminine, right? So again, when we think about the womb, we think about a few things. We think about pregnancy, a pregnant birthing mother. We think about the Virgin Mary. You also, fruit of thy womb, right? But you also think about, okay, who has a womb? The feminine, right? However, like I said, we're in a world where we're being very conscious of there. There are humans that maybe were born female, but now have transitioned to masculine. But there's still, all the womb parts, and the energies that are
Right.
moving through that body. We all come from a womb, right? So the male has a womb. It's different, right? It's different than a female's. But if we think about it, right, the center. right? The center by the belly button, there is an energetic frequency that carries through there, right? That is the root of the body, whether it's masculine and feminine. Now, because I work mostly with feminine identifying bodies,
Mhm.
right? There is an understanding there, but there's also a broader understanding that, you know, other humans that have been going through a process or transition, whether they were born female, transitioned to masculine, or born masculine and transitioned to a female, right? Spaces has to be included for those conversations and all those different emotions for human bodies that are going through that experience,
I got to
right?
stop you for 1 second there
Yeah.
because I want to understand this and I want the audience to understand this part also. When
Mm-hmm.
as a male, I don't
Mm-hmm.
usually think of myself as having a womb.
Mm-hmm.
I do understand like the chakras and things like this, but
Mm-hmm.
go a little deeper into for the male audience that goes, I don't have a womb, what you mean by
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, because well, think about your creative and sexual energy, right?
Okay.
Where does that come from? That comes from the root of the body. That comes from the center, right? It comes from the mm, another word for penis, right, would be the sacred word is the lingam, right? That
Okay.
sexual energy flows through that creative energy, right, flows through that center, right? And whether we're male or feminine, our emotions, our emotional intelligence, the cauldron of our emotions are stored within the hips, right? So
Okay.
anytime, if you've done yoga or any hip opening stretch, right? And if you've done it and intensely long enough, you might start to feel, different situations or different things come up. And you're thinking, wow, why is that coming up? Why am I feeling so emotional right now? It's because you opened up, the energy, you've opened up stored information that is stored within the hips, that is stored within the womb space, right? So whether you're feminine or masculine, yes, there are different body parts. Yes, there are different systems that
Uh,
are working within a male and feminine body, but the energetics are the same.
okay.
Does that
So
make
when I
sense?
talk to you about, yes, yes, that is
Mm-hmm.
making much more sense. So when I talk to you about the womb, we're talking about that energy center
Mm-hmm.
within the body, not
Yeah,
necessarily the fact that I need to produce another human from my womb, but we're talking
right.
about the center of energy within the body.
Right. And when it comes to the different systems, like for a woman bleeds once they become of a certain age. They this is like their first introduction to their womb species when they bleed,
Hmm.
right? So we have that system within the body that is an energetic detox and an energetic portal that can open up and the visual center um, becomes heightened at this time, right? Now, if we want to equate that to, well, does a masculine go through that? Um, or a woman that is going through menopause, right? We then connect to the phases of the moon, right?
Okay.
And the new moon is a space where you can go internal and it has that same energy as when a woman bleeds, right? So just to give some context of like, yes, there's different systems and in each of the bodies, but there are some things that both men and women do go through. They just go through differently within the womb space.
When you do your workshops or when you work with people, do you typically
Mm-hmm.
work with women only and then men only, or is there a space where they can both work together and understand each other better?
Um, right now, my work is mostly with feminine identifying womb carriers that work with opening up to the masculine
Hmm.
is being created. It's not. I am not presently doing it outwardly as of yet, but it is being created. Just the simple fact of the sensitivity of I'm not a masculine, right?
Right.
I do, we all have feminine and masculine energies, right? So I firmly believe in representation. a man is going to communicate to another man in a very relatable and specific way.
Okay.
And they're going to come from that point of view. I am coming from the feminine point of view. Doesn't mean that we can't learn from each other. And there's like so many spaces where we come together and learn from each other. For myself and the work that I have put out there, I'm getting to a place where I'm getting comfortable with being the feminine representation, but also I strongly would like to have the masculine representation to make sure that there's that relatability there and there's an understanding. Same thing as when a person of color comes into a room, right?
Yes.
There is an understanding, there is a relatability, to certain things that a person can talk about, right? So if you have, it's really important to have that representation.
So, what do you want people, let's talk about women, when they
Mm-hmm.
come to you and you're doing womb work with them, what is it that you want them to be able to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with understanding that they have so much more power and empowerment within them than sometimes is realized. We have a lot of voices and a lot of systems out there that are basically saying that we don't have control over our own bodies.
Hmm.
And my intention through this work is to get to a place where we we understand that once there are resources out there and understanding the workings of our bodies, that no matter what anybody else says, right, no system or no outside voices have control over your body,
Right.
right? And that is one of my core intentions. This is where the sacred activism comes in, right? To get to a place where, you know, there's a lot of systems and a lot of laws that are being put out there
Yes.
that are saying that we don't have the autonomy, or they want to control the autonomy of our bodies. And I want to get to a point where that doesn't even matter.
Is there anything that you can think of that is the equivalent that is being put onto the masculine, onto the male body, that is equivalent to the controlling of the woman's womb? Can you think of, I can't think of anything that's
No,
similar to that at all.
no, there isn't.
No,
I'll put it plainly. No, look
no,
at it. If there was any laws, if the amount of discussion and the amount of laws that have been put on to, or even conditioning, not even just laws or conditioning on a woman's body to restrict or to suppress. Don't wear this. Don't say this. You can't do that. You're showing too much. You're being too loud. You're sit down, shut up, make babies, and don't say anything.
yes,
Right? Uh, where we couldn't vote for how many hundred thousands of
yeah,
years. You know, the genocide of women, being called a witch. Um, the rise of patriarchy, coming from a matriarchal society. And what I mean by matriarchal is that there was a balance and an equalization between the masculine and feminine,
right,
right? There was no hierarchy over one another. It was balanced. And then patriarchy started to rise. Then we have this imbalance where the masculine energy takes over. And when I talk about the masculine, I'm not talking about men in general. I'm talking about, you know, this energy, this imbalance of power, corruption, and control.
right.
And so we're moving away from this harmony to this I must control, one controls over the other. Everybody else, you must follow me kind of thing,
Who
right?
started that? How did that start? Because And are there matriarchies right now that are still around, or where the matriarchy and patriarchy are equivalent,
Uh,
equal?
um, I I wouldn't. I can't really pinpoint who started it. All I can say is that there were influences, right? If we go back in history and what we know right now, there were communities, right? Like the Mayans and the Kemetic societies, which we now know, which we now call Egypt. Indigenous communities, right? All of these communities um, have a balanced
Hmm.
um, rhythm to them. And there is an honoring of the land, there is an honoring of the people. And I feel like there are, communities all over the world that are creating that for themselves. And there are also indigenous communities all over that still uphold these, and tribes. And when I mean tribes, I'm not just saying like, the tribe at the yoga studio. I'm talking about real
Right.
indigenous tribes that have, survived, all the way up until now, uphold these things. I would say that this dismantling of this, we find evidence in religion, where there is like this construct of follow this, this is the way,
Right.
right? Everything else that you're doing is the devil, or it's improper, it's savage. That's the wrong way. This is the right way.
Right.
Follow us. Colonialism has a big part in that as well, right? So these are just two of the points. There's spirituality, and then there's forms of religion that have, you have seen it through history, that have, you've seen the control, the control of do it this way, and if you don't, consequences,
We
right?
still see that, right? And we're seeing that every day in
Yeah.
the U.S. And matter of fact, we
Hmm.
just saw a big law
Hmm.
overturned because of that sort of thing, right? Um,
Exactly.
I don't know how we get past this extra strong masculinity thing and start letting women get back into it. I would just wonder what the world would even look like if we actually had a matriarchy um, running things again, or at least being equal.
Well, I mean, it's already happening. It's just happening in smaller spaces, right?
Hmm.
And it's also happening globally, where there are more women coming into, but more feminine body, identifying bodies coming into leadership, and running countries, running organizations, running, businesses, running communities. And again, it's not just the feminine, right? It is also, because we want to be clear that um, we there is an understanding that it's not about masculine and feminine going against each other,
Okay.
right? It's about it's about coming into divine union, into harmony, right? Weaving and communicating and dancing with each other,
Yeah.
right? The feminine needs the masculine needs the feminine, right? Or vice versa, or woman, man, non-identifying, non-binary, all of this stuff. We all need each other, right?
There's a
There's no against each other. And I think there is a new stream of consciousness of, okay, what are we actually doing? How are we creating a living legacy, and a legacy, a generational legacy for our children? Because some of the things that's been happening are not working anymore,
yeah.
right?
Yep. There also I want to bring up there's a word that I learned from you, woman,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
spelled with an X, and
mm-hmm,
it's pronounced woman, and it includes all people that have wombs, correct?
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
where did that word come from?
A woman with an X.
Yeah.
I actually I became conscious of that, um, from seeing it from other colleagues. And I got curious about, well, why is the X there?
Right.
And I found out later that it's an awareness that includes all cultures, all right, and especially minority cultures that get left out of the conversation. So the X includes Black, Indigenous, people of color communities, right?
Yes.
Because especially in this, when we talk about, I don't know, new paradigm, God, goddess, priestess, and all the titles and all the words, in this conscious society, or whatever you'd like to call it, a lot of the representation that you see out there is from one narrative, is from one perspective.
Right.
And to include the X includes a broader perspective, and again goes back to representation, right? My mentors, a lot of my mentors are, from different backgrounds, but are Caucasian. They are white, they are
Yes.
Caucasian, right?
Yes.
One of like British or American, or different places, but you see them, right? And it is that you will see white women, right?
Mhm.
Here I am, I'm a Black woman, right?
Right.
And yes, there is more of us out there doing this type of work, but we still see a lack of representation, right?
Okay.
So to see that X includes, and I also forgot to include not just people of color, but also trans,
Correct.
non-binary, binary, LGBTQ plus, and so on, right? Is to also make sure that we have an awareness and understanding that this is, again, a broader conversation. It is not just male, man, woman, right? It
Gotcha.
includes culture. It includes a broader community, and it includes representation.
So if in your perfect world, if this is, let's say this is your world, what would it look like, and what do you want people to take away from what we're doing right now? What's the perfect world for you?
Oh, the perfect world would kind of like be a Benetton commercial.
Yes.
You remember that? Remember that clothing company?
Yes. The
I don't
United
even know
Colors
if
of.
of Benetton. I don't even know if they're still around, but
I
but
don't
I
know either,
remember,
but they had good
I
commercials.
yeah, I just remember seeing the commercials and their pictures, and you just saw all types of bodies. And
Yes.
we're getting more conscious of that now, and you're seeing that. Um, but it needs to be like water. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's not like, okay, we need to include. It's just a given, right?
Correct.
It's just a given. Like, we are a multilingual, multicolored, multi communal society. We are a global society, and
Yeah.
all spaces have to represent that.
That would be pretty amazing, right? And we had a conversation earlier about Star Wars versus Star Trek. I'm going to say
Yeah,
Star Trek's closer to it than Star
yeah,
Wars, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
we could have
yeah,
an argument about that
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you're not going to
Hmm.
fight for Star Wars being more closer to it.
I
You don't have
don't
to.
know. There's so many different types in Star Wars, and they keep introducing new characters. It's hard to keep up, but there's definitely, it is complex, it is rich, just like our society. Yeah.
Yeah. I want people to be able to get in touch with you, and I know that they can meet you at
Hmm.
the Goddess Moves space. And for all you guys that think there should be a .com or .co.uk or something weird like that, no, it's .space, right? And we can also get in touch with Nicole over at facebook.com/the Goddess Moves, or over at Instagram at the Goddess Moves. So
There we go.
thank you. You might have been frozen, but I wasn't frozen, so I just kept talking to everybody. So
Awesome.
for every
Yeah.
What's the best way that you want people to be able to contact you if they'd like to be a part of your program over
What's
at your
happening?
website,
That is my
thegoddessmoves.space?
website.
Okay. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
leave that up there for people to actually see. And Nicole, thank you for being here. This has been amazing, fun, enlightening, and
Yes.
I would love to talk to you again in the future and see how you're doing, how people are learning from you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And we're going to call it a wrap for today. See you next time.